I hate Bono. I fucking hate Bono. And it's not the music. I've always thought he was a loudmouth, a throbbing ego in leather pants. But one night, years ago, I was forced to see him. It was my friend's bachelor party. He loves U2, and so I went to the show, but I was determined to be miserable. Now, as any of you who have seen U2 know, this is rock and roll church. Bono starts preaching. He asks us to join the March of Justice from the bridges of Selma to the summit of Kilimanjaro. He asks us to eradicate poverty and AIDS and racism and malaria. Heck, I think he asks us to eradicate farts. And as he's doing this, the flags of every African nation descend from the ceiling. This is exactly why I hate Bono. And yet I find myself, against my instinct, standing. And my hands are waving in the air, and I'm looking around for the Amnesty International sign-up table. I want to quit my job, my stupid, shallow job at a global ad agency, and dance my way to Africa and suckle sick children at my breast. Because of Bono, the man I hated. Now, I didn't quit my job and go to Africa, but since that day, my professional priorities have changed. I don't just want to help companies sell more of this and more of that. I want to help them make the world a better place. I figured if guitars could be an instrument for social justice, maybe commercials could be as well. So, what the hell did Bono do to me? And more importantly, how do we do that to one another? Because no matter what we want to do, sell something, build something, change something, be something, we're gonna have to make people move. Yesterday would have been my big brother's 53rd birthday. He died 10 years ago. He was hit by a drunk driver, ironically, right after he had gotten out of rehab himself, after he had gotten out of prison. He struggled with addiction his whole life. And I told him all the time, Danny, don't do this, don't do that. Don't you see you've got a future? Don't you see you've got a son? Oh, I could make a case. I was the captain of my high school debating team. In college, my debate partner and I took second place at the World Championships. We beat Ted Cruz. Oh, I could logic and reason and argue. But of course, that didn't help my brother. One year during college, over a break, I got a letter from my best friend. He said he couldn't be my friend anymore. Everything was an argument. It was exhausting. You could imagine how I felt. The thing of which I was most proud, my superpower, was the very thing that made me unlovable. I've learned the hard way that being right is not winning. In fact, I've learned that being right often gets in the way of moving people. Instead, if we want to move people, if we want to get them on our side, head, heart, and body, we need to loosen our grip on logic and infuse our communications with far more mysterious energies, passions and quirks and dreams and delusions. If we want to inspire, we need to learn to be a muse, to talk like music, a lyrical language that has no interest in changing your mind, but every desire to move your body. And here's what I want to share with you today. This power to inspire is not a gift from the gods given to the good and the great. It is a learnable, practicable skill. Every single one of us can be a muse. If you could feel Bono or Oprah, you're on your way to being Bono or Oprah. There's just one really uncomfortable ingredient. But before we get to that, I want to be clear that inspiration is the most powerful force in the universe. It has won wars and created nations. It has birthed businesses and masterpieces. I'm sure in our way, it's affected and changed all of our lives. The warm words of a coach or a teacher or a book. Inspiration makes us feel like giants. It whispers, you can do it, and we leap. And when we leap, amazing things happen. Research shows that inspiration gets real results. Inspired employees are more productive. Inspired athletes win more games. You might have heard of the eye of the tiger study. They take a group of salespeople and before their shift, divide them into two teams. One team listens to Eye of the Tiger, one team doesn't. The team that listens to Eye of the Tiger closes more sales deals again and again. That's weird. That's amazing. Only very recently have scientists begun to unlock the biology of inspiration. You've probably heard of mirror neurons. They're the neurons that help us learn to do things by replicating what we see in the world. A baby sees her mother's mouth move, mirror neurons fire, her mouth moves, she learns to talk. But mirror neurons also mirror feelings, emotions. When you see Jennifer Lawrence sad, you feel sad. When you see Steph Curry locked in, you feel intensity. These neurons are literally the biological mechanism that lets us share our feelings, and they are the root for inspiration. Very simply, inspiration is a transfer of feeling from a person or a thing to a person or an audience through the mirror neurons into the limbic system. If the emotions are strong enough, hearts pump, action ensues. It's actually a lot like music. Music triggers feelings deep within our limbic system based on the sounds that it makes. So minor notes sound sad. Punk rock sounds angry. Prince sounds like sex. It's why Miles Davis was right when he said anybody can play music. The note is 20%. The attitude of the motherfucker playing it is 80%. Attitude, feeling. Conductors say once again with feeling, and we've got that. We can cry and laugh and grunt and groan. We can talk the way we sing karaoke. And it seems of all of the emotions, the one that's most effective at moving people is passion. I work in marketing, so I worship at the temple of Nike. They have built a global juggernaut worth billions of dollars by never once telling you what makes their stuff better than anybody else's. They've never made a case for what they sell. They share their passion for sports and athletes, and your brain gets on board. You see, when we share our passion, when we share what we love, we make ourselves vulnerable. And when we are vulnerable, the people around us, hardwired for empathy, lean in. They gather around. So if you want to inspire, share what you love, share what you desire, and do so with some emotional verve. But there's a catch. Scientists have also figured out what cracks this mirror of magic emotional transfer. It's thinking. It seems like the culprit is the prefrontal cortex. When we are in the act of thinking critically, thinking analytically, our ability to feel is suppressed. In fact, neurologically speaking, feeling and thinking are opposite states. Or said another way, persuasion and inspiration are opposite and antagonistic endeavors. The more you try to logic, the less you arouse. And we know this. We know that we're odd emotional ducks. We've all read the books. We blink, we're nudged, System 1 thinking crushes System 2 thinking, and yet we hold on to the hope that maybe we can move each other with facts and figures and reason and logic. So with the help of Bono, I've created an equation for inspiration. It's very simple. It is passion minus reason. Passion minus reason equals inspiration. If we want to inspire, we've got to express our passion in a way that stokes mirror neurons. But we've also got to circumvent that pesky prefrontal cortex. We've got to go around that quicksand of analytic overthink. And we do that by being intentionally unreasonable, irrational, odd, different. Stop making sense. Like music, give people things to feel, not propositions to debate. Like music, be the leap, not the logic. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying throw logic and reason to the side and forget facts. Those things are critically important, especially in figuring out what we want to do, what's right and what's wrong, what our strategies are. But when it is go time, when you are looking at your team, your company, your kids, your audience, yourself in the mirror, when it is go time, all that reason gets in the way. Now, you might also say, but Michael, isn't this just gussied up emotional manipulation? Isn't this the alchemy of con men and propaganda artists? Yes. Yes, it is. Be angry about that, but only for a second, because we've got work to do. 3 skills of inspiration. Number 1, get delusional. Nobody is inspired to do small things. We are inspired to do big, grand, and impossible things. When Al Gore was running for president, he said he wanted to reduce carbon emissions 20%. Ambitious. He lost. Barack Obama said he wanted to lower the tides of the oceans. Preposterous. He won. And not just because of that statement, but Barack Obama, like all great leaders, had a way of framing things in epic terms. And when you do that, when you make our goals almost insurmountable, you give your audience, you give your team the greatest gift. You turn them into the most powerful creatures in the universe, underdogs, on the verge of becoming heroes. I worked at the ad agency that created The Most Interesting Man in the World for Dos Equis. The original brief was to make Dos Equis the 2nd best-selling premium imported Mexican beer in America. It was only when we got delusional, when we asked ourselves how we make this weird beer the most interesting thing in a bar, more interesting than the people and their music and their songs and their stories and their jokes, that we birthed the most interesting man in the world. So take your goal and begin to nudge it toward the unreasonable. Do you want to grow your business 2%? Aim for 5%. Or forget numbers altogether and try to change the world. A soap that makes all women feel beautiful? A bank that heals racial wounds? Do you want to quit your job and start a business? Start that business with passion that begins to make your knees wobble. If a rock band can eradicate AIDS, so can an ice cream store. Delusional goals do not diminish us, they ennoble us. Number 2, show up to stir up. It's very difficult to inspire if the moment feels like yesterday and the day before and the day before that. When Lincoln got to Gettysburg, according to contemporary accounts, he was grotesque. He was dirty and his suit didn't fit. And he begins, as we know, by saying, 77 years ago. Now, when I was a kid, I thought that's how everybody spoke in the 1860s. I'm 23 years old. No. Lincoln was purposefully referring to an archaic verse from the Bible. He shows up like a dirtbag, and he drops this weird-ass phrase. But that was the point. He was saying, sit up, people. What is about to happen here is unusual, is extraordinary, is sacred. And that's when the war began to change. I've used PowerPoint a lot professionally. And now one of the founders of PowerPoint said his goal was to give power to the bullet point. Terrifying. But to a professional debater, it was like crack. You want reason? You want evidence? Look at my bullet points. Look at all my bullet points. I can't be wrong. It was only when I was on the other side of the table, when I was hearing pitches from agencies and consultants, that I realized all that strategy, all of those bullet points put us in such an analytical state of mind, it was impossible to do anything bold and brave. Bullet points murder courage. So think about what rule you want to break when it's time to inspire. It could be subtle. A coach tells a team to take a knee. A CEO doesn't sit at the head of the table. A guy begins his TEDx talk by saying, fuck. Or maybe it's not subtle at all. Maybe a quarterback kneels during the national anthem. Number 3, love. This is my favorite. It's impossible to inspire anybody if they don't believe that you are on their side. And this is more than just respect. This is love. This is looking at people, finding their superpower, and giving them the conviction that because of that power, they are capable of accomplishing whatever they set their mind to. And give it a name, make it a thing, say it out loud. You are the queen of bouncing back. You are the general of chocolate cupcakes. When my son was starting to play soccer, the coach put him on defense, and he was miserable. No fun back there. Until the coach took him aside one day and said, dude, you are the assassin on this team. Anyone coming down the field, you got to take them out. You are the Jason Bourne of soccer. That's love. And when we hear that we are loved and why we are loved, it's a disorienting experience. It is passionate. It is the stuff of inspiration. So I guess what I'm saying is that if you want to inspire, and you do want to inspire, you've got to be more passionate and less reasonable. And you do that by cracking yourself open and sharing everything inside, your hopes, your dreams, your fears, your passions. And as you do that, your voice changes, your body changes, you break some rules, you stoke some mirror neurons, you get out of the way of that prefrontal cortex, you become amused, like music. You are the leap, not the logic. Now, I know this is easy to say and it's hard to do, especially in a world that prizes reason and logic and order. We're told all the time, well, think reasonably about this. Stop being so emotional, especially women. Well, I know that being emotional is an act of rebellion in this world. And who better to teach us how to rebel than a rock and roll star? Bono was asked, how do you do it, dude? How do you stand on stages night after night and move people to dance, to feel, to donate money? How do you do it? He said, PowerPoint. No, he didn't. he said, I don't. I put on the leather pants and I let the leather pants tell me what to do. Fuck, that guy is